The moment Nicola Moretti walked into room 12 at 3 in the morning, every instinct I'd honed through 7 years of hospice nursing screamed that this man didn't visit dying mothers. He collected debts. And I had no idea what currency he'd come to claim. He moved like winter itself had learned to walk. Silent, inevitable. The kind of cold that didn't announce itself until your bones already ached with it. I'd been adjusting Alessandra's morphine drip when the temperature in the room dropped. Not literally, but every nurse recognized that shift. The air changing when someone dangerous entered a space they thought they owned. "Mrs. Moretti is stable," I said, not turning around. My hand stayed steady on the IV line. "Visiting hours start at 8. "I don't follow visiting hours." His voice slid under my skin like the needle I was capping, low, controlled. The kind of voice that never needed to rise because it already owned every word before it left his mouth. I turned. He stood in the doorway, backlit by the hallway's fluorescent glow. Expensive suit, Italian cut, dark enough to disappear into shadows. His face was all brutal angles, sharp jaw, knife-edged cheekbones, eyes that assessed me the way a predator assessed prey before deciding whether it was worth the chase. "I'm her son." He stepped inside, closing the door behind him with a soft click that sounded too much like a lock engaging. "You called me. You said she asked for me. Mr. Moretti." I kept my voice level, professional. "Yes, your mother's condition has deteriorated. She's been asking for you for 3 days." "Lauren Hayes," Alessandra's voice rasped from the bed. Paper thin but warm. "Stop frightening my Nico. He's not used to women who don't flinch." I watched something flicker across his face, surprise maybe, or the ghost of something softer, before it vanished behind that controlled mask. "Mama." He moved to the bedside, and I stepped back, giving them space. His hand found hers with a gentleness that didn't match the rest of him. "I'm here, because the pretty nurse called." Alessandra's smile was weak but wicked. "I told you she was smart. You told me she was competent." His eyes cut to me. "You didn't mention she was brave enough to scold me in my mother's room." "Someone has to." I checked the monitor readings, logging them mentally. "And right now, your mother needs rest more than she needs you two discussing my character." Alessandra laughed, then coughed. I was there instantly, supporting her shoulders, adjusting the oxygen cannula, counting the coughs. 5. Not terrible, not good. When she settled, she kept her eyes on her son. "See? Worth every dollar I don't pay her." "The hospice pays me," I corrected. "And you're worth considerably more than my hourly rate, Mrs. Moretti." "Alessandra," she insisted, like she had every shift for 6 weeks. "We're past formalities, Cara. Especially now." The weight in those last 2 words settled over the room like sediment. Nicola's jaw tightened. "How long?" He wasn't asking his mother. I met his eyes. Dark, unreadable. The kind of eyes that probably saw too much and forgave nothing. "Dr. Patel estimates 2 to 4 weeks, I said. "But that's an estimate. She could—" "I want specifics." His voice didn't rise, but it cut through mine like a blade. "I want to know every medication, every possible complication, every scenario that could shorten or extend that timeline. I want a complete report by morning." "You'll get Dr. Patel's report when he makes rounds at 7, I said. "I'm a nurse, not your employee. And your mother needs sleep more than you need control over information you can't change." The silence that followed could have drawn blood. Alessandra's laughter broke it. "Oh, Nico, I told you. She's the only one here who treats me like a person instead of a tragedy. And now you know why I wanted her here when we had this conversation." "What conversation?" I glanced between them. Nicola's eyes never left my face. "The one where my mother tells me she wants to die at home, and I tell her I'm making it happen." My stomach dropped. "Mr. Moretti." "Nicola," he corrected, with a tone that made it sound like a command, not an invitation. "Nicola," I forced his name out carefully. "Home hospice requires specific arrangements. Insurance approval, equipment, qualified care. It's not something you just decide at 3 in the morning." "I don't require insurance approval." He reached into his jacket. I definitely didn't flinch, but my pulse definitely spiked, and pulled out a business card. "Call this number tomorrow, ask for Vincent, He'll handle the logistics. I took the card. Heavy stock, embossed. No company name, just a phone number. Your mother's care isn't logistics, I said. It's medicine. It's dignity. It's my mother dying in a place that smells like industrial cleaner and despair when she could be dying in her own home, looking at her own garden. His voice stayed level, but something dangerous moved beneath it. Call Vincent, or I'll have him call you. Nico. Alessandra's voice carried warning. You're doing it again. Doing what? Forgetting that people make choices, not you. She turned her head toward me, the oxygen tube shifting. Lauren, would you consider it? Coming to stay at my home for however long I have. I know it's unorthodox. I know it's asking a great deal. But I'd rather spend my last days with someone who sees me than someone who's simply assigned to me. The request hit me like a physical thing. Behind Alessandra's bed, through the window, I could see the parking lot where my 12-year-old Honda sat. The one that burned oil and had a check engine light I couldn't afford to investigate. In my bag by the nurse's station, there was a foreclosure notice for the house I'd grown up in, the one I'd been trying to save since Dad's medical bills swallowed everything. I have other patients, I said carefully. Responsibilities here. I'll pay you triple your current salary, Nicholas said. Triple my salary. Enough to stop the bank's weekly calls. Maybe enough to buy my father's house back from the edge of the auction block. Plus room and board. And I'll cover any financial obligations that would prevent you from accepting. My blood went cold. How do you know I have financial obligations? I make it my business to know who's in my mother's life. When she says someone's name more than once, I look into them. You checked out. I know about your father's cancer, the debt, the house. I know you're drowning and too proud to ask for help. Nico, Alessandra's voice sharpened. You promised. I promised to be honest. His eyes held mine. She deserves to know exactly what kind of man is making this offer. And I deserve to know if the person caring for my mother is trustworthy or desperate enough to make mistakes. I don't make mistakes with my patients, I said quietly. My hands weren't steady anymore. They balled into fists at my sides instead. And you don't get to turn my life inside out and call it honesty. That's called intimidation. No. He stepped closer. Not threatening exactly, just present, overwhelming. Intimidation is when I tell you that if you say no, I'll pull strings to have my mother transferred anyway. And I'll hire someone with half your skill and none of your compassion, because I'm not above using every resource I have to get what I want. That's intimidation. What I'm doing now is negotiating. That's not negotiating, I shot back. That's extortion with better manners. Something almost like respect flickered in his eyes. You're right, let me rephrase. I'm offering you a job that solves your most pressing problem, allows you to continue caring for a patient you clearly love, and ensures my mother dies with dignity. In exchange, you give me 8 weeks, possibly less, of your expertise and your presence in my home. Those are the terms. You can negotiate specifics. Like what? My heart hammered against my ribs. Medical autonomy, he said immediately. I won't overrule you on pain management, medication, or end-of-life decisions. Dr. Patel will remain her primary physician, and you'll have final say on her daily care. I'm hiring you for your judgment, not your compliance. I looked at Alessandra. Her eyes were drifting closed, exhausted from the conversation, but she managed a small nod. He means it, Kara. When Nico gives his word about my care, he keeps it. About other things. She smiled faintly. Well, that's between you two. I need guarantees, I heard myself say, in writing, a contract that specifies this arrangement ends when your mother passes. That you won't, I swallowed. That you won't use what you know about my situation to keep me longer than that. Agreed. No hesitation. Vincent will have it drawn up by noon tomorrow. You read it, negotiate anything you want changed, and then you decide. I need to talk to Dr. Patel. And my supervisor. Of course. He pulled out his phone, typed something. Vincent will handle the administrative side with the hospice. You'll remain employed here on paper, technically on extended private care leave. Your patients will be reassigned starting tomorrow night. You're very sure I'm going to say yes? No. He slipped his phone back into his jacket. I'm very sure you understand that sometimes the best choice is the one that keeps you alive long enough to make better choices later. The words hit like a diagnosis I hadn't wanted to hear. I need 24 hours, I said. You have 12. He moved toward the door, then paused. And Lauren? My mother was right. You are brave. Most people lie when they're afraid of me. You just get quieter and sharper. That's useful. I'm not a tool. No. His hand rested on the door handle. You're something considerably more dangerous. You're someone my mother trusts. That makes you untouchable to anyone in my world who wants to hurt me, which means whether you accept this job or not, you're already in my life. This just makes it official. He left. The door clicked shut. Alessandra's hand found mine in the dark. He's not as terrible as he sounds. He sounds like exactly what you always joked about, I whispered. I wasn't joking, Kara. Her grip was weak but steady. I was warning you. And now I'm asking you anyway, because you're the only one who'll make sure he doesn't drown in guilt when I'm gone. That's not in any contract. That's just a favor from one woman to another. I stood there in the dark, holding the hand of a dying woman I'd grown to love, and felt the trap close around me with the weight of every unpaid bill, every foreclosure notice, every night I'd chosen between gas money and groceries. I'll read the contract, I said finally. Alessandra smiled. That's my girl. But as I checked her vitals one last time and stepped out into the fluorescent hallway, all I could think was that Nicola Moretti's eyes had assessed me like I was a problem he intended to solve. And I had no idea if that made me safe or in more danger than I'd ever been in my life. The estate wasn't what I expected. I'd pictured something cold, brutalist concrete and steel, all hard edges and security cameras. The kind of place that announced its owner's power by making visitors feel small. Instead, Vincent, a quiet man in his 50s with kind eyes and a shoulder holster I pretended not to notice, drove me through gates that opened onto rolling green lawns, old-growth trees, and a stone mansion that looked like it had been standing since before the Revolutionary War. Warm, honey-colored stone, tall windows that caught the afternoon light, gardens that actually bloomed instead of being sculpted into geometric intimidation. Mrs. Moretti designed most of the grounds herself, Vincent said, as we pulled up the circular drive. Before she got sick, Boss made sure everything was maintained exactly how she wanted it. It's beautiful, I admitted. Wait till you see the room he set up for her. Vincent parked, then came around to get my bags before I could protest. East wing, second floor, wall of windows overlooking the rose garden. Private terrace. He had the medical equipment installed yesterday, but made sure it didn't look like a hospital room. He wasn't wrong. The room was flooded with natural light, all warm woods and soft fabrics. The hospital bed had been positioned to face the windows, disguised with an expensive duvet that could be easily removed. IV poles, oxygen equipment, medication cart, all there, all state-of-the-art, but somehow integrated into the space instead of dominating it. On the far wall, there was a photograph. Young Alessandra, maybe 30, laughing in a garden. Beside it, a recent photo of the same garden from this very terrace. He spent 3 hours yesterday making sure that picture was hung at exactly the right height so she could see it from the bed, Vincent said quietly. Kept adjusting it. Refused to let anyone else do it. Something in my chest twisted. Where's my room? I asked. Through here. He opened a connecting door. He wanted you close enough to hear if she needed anything at night, but private enough that you weren't just sleeping in a medical facility. My room was smaller, but just as carefully considered. Comfortable bed, good lighting, a desk by the window, and my own bathroom. There was even a bookshelf, already stocked with medical references, and, I noticed with surprise, 3 novels I'd mentioned loving in passing conversations with Alessandra. He pays attention, I murmured. Always. Vincent set my bags down. Mrs. Moretti arrives in about an hour. Dr. Patel is meeting you both here. Boss wanted me to tell you that if you need anything at all, you call me directly. Day or night. He handed me a phone. New. It's programmed with everyone you might need. Boss, me, Dr. Patel, security, kitchen staff. You're not on your own here. Where is Nicola? Handling business. Vincent's expression stayed neutral. He'll be here for dinner. Wanted to give you time to get Mrs. Moretti settled first, without him hovering. That was unexpectedly thoughtful. Vincent, I stopped him at the door. What exactly does he do? His business? Import-export, Vincent said smoothly. Logistics, shipping, some real estate. His eyes met mine. And you're smart enough not to ask questions you don't want answered yet. So I'm going to respect that and leave before I have to lie to you more than I already have. He left. I stood in that beautiful room, holding a phone that probably cost more than my rent, and wondered what kind of logistics required armed drivers and the kind of power that made hospice administrators sign off on private care arrangements in under 4 hours. But Alessandra arrived before I could think about it too long. The transport was seamless. Dr. Patel supervised. 2 paramedics handled the move with careful efficiency, and Alessandra smiled through the whole thing like she was checking into a resort instead of entering the final stage of terminal illness. "Oh, Nico," she breathed when she saw the room. "You remembered." Of course I remembered. His voice came from the doorway. I turned. He'd changed from the suit to dark slacks and a black shirt, sleeves rolled to his elbows. Somehow that was worse. Less armor, more man. "You told me when I was 12 that if you ever couldn't garden anymore, you wanted to at least see the garden. So I made sure you can. Come here." Alessandra held out her hand. He crossed to her, and for just a moment, with his hand in hers and his head bowed close to hear whatever she whispered, he looked almost human, almost vulnerable. Then he straightened, all business again. "Dr. Patel, what's the baseline we're working from?" The next hour was pure medicine. We reviewed medications, adjusted her pain management protocol, discussed nutrition and hydration goals. Nicola asked questions that proved he'd done research, good research, the kind that came from actually reading medical journals instead of just Googling symptoms. He deferred to my judgment on comfort measures, listened when I explained why we were prioritizing quality of time over quantity. Didn't argue when I said his mother would tell us what she wanted, not the other way around. But I felt his attention on me the whole time, assessing, measuring, like I was a new asset he needed to fully understand before deploying. Dr. Patel left. Alessandra dozed. The house fell into evening quiet. I was updating medication logs at the small desk in her room when Nicola appeared with a tray. "You haven't eaten since you arrived," he said. "I was busy getting your mother settled." "She's settled. Now you eat." He set the tray down. Pasta, salad, bread, water. Simple but perfect. "Cook's name is Maria. Tell her your preferences and she'll make sure you're fed properly. You're no use to my mother if you collapse from low blood sugar." "How considerate," I said dryly. "Keeping your assets functional. Is that what you think you are?" He leaned against the doorframe, watching me with those dark, unreadable eyes. "An asset? You tell me," I met his gaze. "You investigated my finances, negotiated a contract, and installed me in your home like a piece of medical equipment. If I'm wrong about how you see me, correct me." "You're wrong." He didn't move, but his voice dropped. "Assets are replaceable. Tools are disposable. You're neither. You're the woman my mother loves and trusts, which makes you," he paused, "complicated." "Complicated how?" "Eat first. Then I'll explain what living here means." It sounded like a threat wrapped in hospitality. I ate. The pasta was incredible, and I hated that I noticed. Hated that everything in this place was designed to be perfect, to make resistance feel petty and ungrateful. When I finished, he gestured to the terrace. "Walk with me. Your mother has a monitor that alerts you if her heart rate or oxygen levels change." He showed me his phone. "I can see it from anywhere on the property. So can you. She's sleeping. You can spare 10 minutes. I followed him out onto the terrace. The sun was setting over the gardens, painting everything gold and rose. In the distance, I could hear water, a fountain maybe, or a stream. The air smelled like honeysuckle and something darker, earth, growing things. The kind of smell that meant life continuing despite everything. 3 weeks ago, Nicholas said, staring out at the gardens, someone sent flowers to the hospice, to my mother's room, with a card that said, "May she rest in peace," signed with just an initial. M. My blood chilled. Who's M? Someone who wants to remind me that the people I love are vulnerable. His jaw tightened. Someone who thinks my mother dying is an opportunity to pressure me, to make mistakes. What kind of mistakes? The kind where I prioritize revenge over strategy, where I act emotionally instead of thinking. He turned to face me. You need to understand something. My business makes enemies, powerful ones. And now that my mother is here, they know where to find her, where to find you. Is that why there are armed men at the gates? I kept my voice steady. Why Vincent carries a gun? Why every window probably has sensors? Yes, no hesitation, no apology. And it's why you don't leave this property without security. Why you don't answer questions about my mother's condition to anyone I haven't cleared. Why you follow protocols that might seem paranoid but are actually just realistic. You're telling me I'm a target. I'm telling you that being in my life comes with consequences. He stepped closer, not threatening, just present, the way he'd been in the hospice. I'm telling you that if someone wanted to hurt me through my mother, they'd have to go through you first, which means I need you to be smart, careful, and willing to trust that I've thought about every scenario that ends with you in danger. And if I'm not willing, my heart hammered. What if I decide this is too much, and I want out of the contract? Then you tell me, he said simply. And Vincent drives you home, and I assign someone else to my mother's care, someone with half your compassion and none of your fire. And I live with the guilt of knowing I scared away the one person who made her last days bearable. His eyes held mine. But the contract releases you from financial obligations either way. I don't trap people with money, just with honesty about what staying costs. I wanted to call him a liar, wanted to believe this was manipulation, pure and simple. But there was something in his face, exhaustion, maybe, or the kind of grief that hadn't fully hit yet, that made me pause. I'm not leaving, I heard myself say. Not while she needs me. Good. He didn't smile, but something eased in his shoulders. Then let me show you the security protocols. The next week fell into a rhythm. Mornings, I woke early to check Alessandra's meds and pain levels. Afternoons, she held court from her bed or the terrace when weather permitted. Vincent bringing coded business updates. She pretended not to understand while Maria spoiled her with food. Dr. Patel checked in daily, by phone or in person. And Nicola orbited around her like a moon, trapped in guilty gravity. At breakfast most mornings, silent and watchful, always asking me about her pain before he took her hand and just listened. But I noticed things. The way his shoulders only relaxed when I told him her pain levels were managed. The way he checked the medication logs when he thought I wasn't looking, memorizing dosages. The way he'd pause outside her room late at night, listening, before walking away without entering because he didn't want to wake her. He's terrified, Alessandra told me one afternoon while Nicola was on a call in his office. Not of me dying while he's not there. Of failing me again. You argued with him and he didn't shout, she added, eyes glinting. I like you even more for that. Maybe you'll finally teach my son that women aren't made of glass or smoke. Again, I adjusted her pillows. 10 years ago, there was an incident. She chose her words carefully. Someone tried to hurt Nico. I was in the car. I survived, obviously, but she gestured vaguely. He's carried that ever since. The belief that loving him is dangerous, that distance keeps people safe. Is it true? I asked quietly. Is loving him dangerous? Oh, Kara. Her eyes were sad and knowing. You're already asking the wrong question. The question isn't whether it's dangerous. The question is whether the danger matters more than the man. I didn't have an answer for that. But that night, everything changed. It was 2 a.m. I woke to alarms, not the medical monitor, something else. Loud, urgent, security. I was out of bed and in Alessandra's room in seconds. She was awake, confused, reaching for her oxygen. It's okay, I said, checking her vitals. Stable? Thank God. Just stay calm, breathe. The door burst open. Nicola, dressed all in black, gun in hand. Behind him, Vincent and 2 other men I'd seen on the grounds. Get her to the safe room, Nicola ordered. Now. What's happening? I was already unhooking her IV, preparing to move her. Someone breached the perimeter. His voice was ice, pure, Lethal ice. They're coming for this house. Vincent will get you both to safety. Do exactly what he says. Nico, Alessandra's voice shook. Mama. He crossed to her, cupped her face. I will handle this. You trust me. Always. Then let Lauren take care of you while I take care of them. He looked at me. There's a room in the basement, reinforced. Medical supplies already staged. Lock yourselves in. Don't open the door for anyone but Vincent or me. How will I know it's you? He grabbed a pen from the medication cart, scrawled something on my hand. A phrase in Italian. I'll say that. No one else knows it. If someone says anything else, it's not me, and you keep that door locked until you hear police. Vincent was already moving the wheelchair to the bed. We need to go. Now. I helped lift Alessandra, my training kicking in despite my racing heart. Oxygen tank, emergency medication bag, blanket around her shoulders. Nicola's hand caught my wrist as I passed. Keep her calm. Keep yourself calm. You're both safe as long as you follow protocols. What about you? Something flickered in his eyes. Surprise, maybe. Worried about me, Lauren? Worried about your mother losing you, I shot back. His thumb brushed over the inside of my wrist just once. Then I'll make sure that doesn't happen. He released me. Vincent guided us through hallways I'd never seen, downstairs, through a door disguised as a wall panel. The safe room was exactly what Nicola had described. Reinforced, stocked, and completely soundproofed. The door sealed behind us with a heavy thunk. Alessandra's breathing was rapid. Not good. I checked her oxygen levels, adjusted the tank, held her hand. He'll be fine, I said, trying to believe it. He's done this before. You see, she rasped, a ghost of her usual mischief breaking through the fear. I told you his enemies were cowards. They don't even know how to knock properly. Too many times. Her grip was weak but desperate. I keep telling him to walk away. Leave that life. He says he can't. Not while he has enemies who remember what he used to be. What he used to be? She looked at me with eyes that had seen too much. Worse than he is now. Much worse. He's trying, Kara. He's trying to be better. But the past doesn't forgive men like my son. We waited. Minutes felt like hours. I monitored Alessandra's vitals, administered anti-anxiety medication, talked to her about the garden and recipes, and anything that wasn't the sound of silence pressing in from all sides. Finally, after what my phone told me was 43 minutes but felt like days, there was a knock. A voice came through the speaker. Italian. The phrase he'd written on my hand. Ti porto a casa. I bring you home. I opened the door. Nicola stood there, clothes torn, blood on his knuckles, but alive, whole. He looked past me to his mother first. Mama? Fine, Alessandra said. Thanks to your nurse. His eyes found mine. You did well. What happened? Later, he stepped aside. Let's get her back upstairs. Then we talk. Vincent and 2 other men helped with the move. I noticed the blood was only on Nicola's hands. Defensive wounds, maybe. Or offensive. I didn't ask. By the time we got Alessandra settled, her exhaustion had won. She fell asleep within minutes, her body demanding rest after the adrenaline surge. I stayed by her bed, checking and rechecking her monitors. Lauren? Nicola's voice, quiet from the doorway. I followed him out onto the terrace. Dawn was breaking, painting the sky in shades of bruised purple and gold. The breach was a test, he said without preamble. Someone wanted to see how good our security was, how fast we'd respond. They didn't get close enough to be a real threat, but now they know exactly what your defenses look like, I finished. And they know she's here. Yes. He leaned against the railing, and for the first time since I'd met him, he looked almost tired. Human. I should move her, somewhere safer. Somewhere that isn't home, I said. Somewhere that would break what's left of her heart. I know. His hands gripped the railing. That's the problem. I can't keep her completely safe and give her what she wants. I have to choose. She already chose, I said quietly. She chose this. Being here with you. Even knowing the risks. That doesn't make it right. No, I agreed. But it makes it hers. Her choice. Her risk. You don't get to overrule that just because you're scared. He turned to look at me. His eyes were bloodshot, exhausted, but sharp. I had 4 men positioned on that perimeter, armed, trained, and someone still got through. You think I'm going to trust that safety comes from good intentions and hope? I think you already did, I said. The moment you brought her home, the moment you hired me instead of someone who'd just follow orders and not ask questions. You chose humanity over control. You just don't want to admit it. Humanity gets people killed in my world, and control suffocates them. I stepped closer. Your mother has weeks, maybe a month if we're lucky. You can spend that time locked in a bunker, keeping her safe, or you can let her have sunlight and roses and her son's face without bulletproof glass between you. That's your choice. But don't pretend it's about protection. It's about which regret you can live with. The silence stretched between us like a tightrope. You're not what I expected, he said finally. What did you expect? Someone who'd be easier to control. Someone who'd see me as a monster or a savior, not just... He stopped. Not someone who looks at me like I'm just a man making impossible choices. You are just a man, I said. A dangerous one, a powerful one, but still just a man who loves his mother and doesn't know how to do it without armor. Something in his expression cracked. Just for a second. Just enough for me to see the wound underneath. If I let her stay, he said quietly, and something happens to her because of it, I'll never forgive myself. If you move her, I countered, and she dies somewhere sterile and safe and wrong, you'll never forgive yourself either. At least this way, you're honoring what she wants. He studied me for a long moment, then, you should get some sleep. You've been up for 24 hours. So have you. I don't sleep much. He pushed away from the railing. But I need to make calls, adjust security, make sure whoever tested us tonight knows exactly what happens when they get too close to my family. The way he said family made my breath catch, because I was standing on this terrace at dawn, included in that statement by proximity if nothing else. Nicola, he paused at the door. Your mother was right, I said. You're not as terrible as you sound. The corner of his mouth twitched, not quite a smile, but close. Give it time. You'll change your mind. He left. I stood there watching the sun rise over the gardens, feeling the phrase he'd written on my hand like a brand. Ti porto a casa. I bring you home. The problem was, I was starting to feel like I already was. The attack changed everything, not just the security, though that tightened like a noose around the property. More guards, more cameras. Vincent shadowing me every time I stepped outside Alessandra's wing. What changed was the way Nicola looked at his mother, like he was memorizing her, like every conversation might be the last one. Not because of cancer, but because of men with guns and grudges. He started working from the estate instead of going into the city. Set up in the library, door open, always within earshot. I'd catch him standing in Alessandra's doorway at odd hours, just watching her sleep. He's preparing to lose me, Alessandra told me one afternoon. Her voice papery but wry. Men like Nico, they think if they can control the how and when, the loss won't hurt as much. But grief doesn't negotiate, Kara. It just comes. He loves you, I said, checking her medication schedule. He's doing his best. I know. She caught my hand. That's why I need you to promise me something. When I'm gone, don't let him disappear into that cold place. Don't let him convince himself that isolation is the same as strength. Alessandra, we're not, I stumbled over the words. I'm your nurse. Once you're after, there's no reason for me to stay. Isn't there? Her eyes were too knowing. I see how you look at each other. Like you're both trying to solve an equation that keeps changing variables. That's not, Lauren. Her grip tightened with surprising strength. I'm dying. I don't have time for polite lies. My son is falling for you. And unless I'm completely wrong about the way your breath changes when he walks into a room, you're falling too. The question is what you're going to do about it. My face burned. Nothing. I'm going to do nothing. Because mixing my job with with him, that's not professional. It's not smart. It's human, she finished. It's human. And you've been so busy being professional and smart that I think you've forgotten how to be just a woman who wants something for herself. Before I could answer, my phone buzzed. Vincent. Need you in the library. Now. Medical question. I excused myself, grateful for the escape from Alessandra's uncomfortable accuracy. Nicola wasn't alone in the library. A woman sat across from him, early 30s, expensive suit, cold beauty that felt calculated. She looked up when I entered, and her expression could have stripped paint. "This is Dr. Hayes?" Her tone suggested I'd failed some tests just by existing. "Lauren," Nicola corrected, his voice carrying warning. "My mother's nurse. Lauren, this is Sofia Castellano. She handles certain legal matters for my family." Legal matters, right. The kind that came with armed guards and coded language. "Dr. Hayes," Sophia said, ignoring his correction. "I need to understand my client's mother's exact prognosis, timeline, specific deterioration markers. I'm told you're the authority on her day-to-day condition." Something about the way she said it set my teeth on edge. "I report to Dr. Patel and to Nicola regarding Alessandra's care. I don't discuss patient information with—" "I'm his attorney," Sophia cut in. "Which means you do discuss it with me when it affects estate planning, end-of-life arrangements, and legal protections that need to be in place before Mrs. Moretti becomes unable to make decisions." "She's still mentally sharp," I said carefully. "She can make her own decisions. For how much longer?" Sophia's eyes were chips of ice. "Days? Weeks? I need specifics." Nicola's jaw tightened. "Sophia, that's enough." "It's not enough. You hired me to protect your family's interests. That includes making sure we have legal infrastructure in place before—" She stopped, recalibrated. "Before things become complicated." "Complicated how?" I asked. Sophia's smile was thin. "Let's just say that when powerful men lose their mothers, they sometimes make emotional decisions. My job is to ensure those decisions don't expose him to unnecessary risk." "Risk from what?" I pressed. "From people who might use his grief as leverage." She stood, smoothing her skirt, "which includes being very careful about who has access to him during vulnerable moments, who might have undue influence." The implication landed like a slap. "You think I'm, what? Manipulating him?" I couldn't keep the edge from my voice. "I think you're a hospice nurse with crushing debt who very suddenly found herself living in a multi-million-dollar estate with a contract that pays triple your normal salary." Sophia's tone stayed professional, but her eyes were merciless. "I think that creates certain incentives." "Sophia," Nicola's voice dropped to something dangerous. "Walk away, now. I'm protecting you." By insulting the woman caring for my dying mother, he stood, and even Sophia took a step back. By suggesting she's some kind of opportunist, when she's the only person in this house who treats my mother like a human being instead of a legal problem to solve? "I'm doing my job," Sophia said quietly, "which is making sure that when this is over, you're not left vulnerable to someone who—" "Get out." 2 words. Quiet. Absolute. Sophia's composure cracked for just a second. Then she collected her briefcase, nodded once, and left. The silence after the door closed felt like a living thing. "I should have warned you about her," Nicholas said finally. "She's thorough." "She thinks I'm using your mother to get to you," I said flatly. "That I'm some kind of gold digger with a nursing degree. She thinks everyone is using me for something." He moved to the window, staring out at the grounds. "It's how she stays alive in my world. Trust no one. Question everything. See threats in every kindness." "Is that how you see me?" The question came out smaller than I intended. "As a threat?" He turned. "No." "Then what am I?" The question hung between us. Too big, too complicated. "You're the person my mother loves," he said carefully. "The person who makes her laugh, who holds her hand when she's scared and doesn't lie to her about what's coming. He stopped. "You're necessary, and that terrifies me." "Why?" "Because necessary things become targets." He crossed to me, close enough that I could see the exhaustion in his eyes, the fine lines of stress. "Because Sophia's right about one thing. When my mother dies, I will be vulnerable. And anyone smart enough to watch me will know that the way to hurt me is through the people He caught himself. "Through the people I can't afford to lose." My heart hammered. "I'm not your responsibility." "Aren't you?" His hand lifted. hovering near my face like he wanted to touch but wouldn't let himself. You live in my house, under my protection, tangled up in my life whether we planned it or not. That makes you my responsibility, my problem to solve. I'm not a problem. No, he agreed, his voice rough. You're something much more dangerous than that. The air between us felt electric, charged, like the moment before lightning struck. His phone buzzed. He stepped back, checked it, and his entire expression changed. Went cold, hard. What? I asked. The bank. His voice was ice. Your house, the foreclosure. It's been resolved. My stomach dropped. What do you mean resolved? I mean the debt's been paid. Deed transferred to your name, free and clear, as of this morning. The world tilted. You didn't. I didn't. He showed me the phone, documentation, legal papers. But someone did. Someone who wants me to know they can reach into your life anytime they want. Someone who just bought leverage over you using the one thing they knew you couldn't refuse. The implications sank in like poison. Most likely, he was already texting, calling. Vincent, I need you in the library now. And get me everything we have on recent transactions tied to... He stopped. Looked at me. You need to sit down. I don't need to sit down. I need to understand what the hell is happening. What's happening is someone just made a move on you. He pulled up more information on his phone, and I saw his face go even harder. And they were thorough. Paid off your medical debts too. All of it. Student loans, credit cards, your father's hospital bills. You're completely clear. I couldn't breathe. Why would they do that? To own you. Vincent appeared in the doorway, gun visible now. To make you feel grateful, obligated, confused, and to send a message to boss that they can get to anyone in his orbit anytime they want. They're trying to make you look like the villain, I said slowly. If I believe Nicola did this behind my back, it drives a wedge between us. If I believe someone else did it, I'm grateful to them instead of him. Either way, you're compromised, Nicola finished. And I look like either a controlling bastard or an incompetent one who can't even protect the people in his own house. My legs felt weak. I sat. This is insane. This is strategy. He crouched in front of me, eye level. This is someone very smart making a play. And we need to figure out who before they make their next one. The hospice, I said suddenly. Alessandra's former room. Have you been monitoring it? Of course. Why? Because that's where this started, right? The flowers, the message. Someone knew she was there before you moved her, which means someone inside the hospice either talked or I stopped. Or they're still in place, still watching. Nicola's eyes sharpened. Vincent, pull records on everyone who's had access to that hospice in the last month. Staff, volunteers, vendors, everyone. On it. Vincent disappeared. Nicola stayed crouched in front of me. Are you okay? No, I laughed, a little hysterical. I'm very much not okay. Someone just paid off hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt to prove they can manipulate me. Someone's using me as a chess piece in whatever war you're fighting. And your attorney thinks I'm a con artist. So no, not okay. Sophia was out of line. Sophia was protecting you. I met his eyes. And maybe she's not completely wrong. Maybe I am a liability you can't afford. Don't. His hand caught mine. Don't let them make you feel like you're the problem. You're not. This is my world, my enemies, my failures catching up. You're just what? Collateral damage. Just someone I should have kept away from all this. His grip tightened. Someone I should have been smart enough to keep safe by keeping distant. But I'm apparently not that smart. Because even knowing what this costs, He stopped, pulled back, stood. Keep what? I pushed. Wanting you here. The admission seemed to cost him. Wanting to walk into that room and see you with my mother. Wanting to hear you tell me I'm wrong when I am. He turned away. Things I have no right to want. My pulse hammered in my throat. Nicola. Dr. Patel's calling, Vincent interrupted from the doorway. Says there's been a medication discrepancy. Someone tried to order additional morphine for Mrs. Moretti through the pharmacy. He flagged it because he didn't authorize it. The bottom dropped out of my stomach. I didn't order anything. I know. Nicola was already moving. which means someone tried to use your credentials. Someone who wants to either implicate you in medical malpractice or accelerate Alessandra's death and blame it on me, I finished. My voice sounded far away. Make it look like I overdosed her, either accidentally or as a mercy killing that I ordered, Nicholas said grimly, which would give certain people leverage over me for the rest of my life. This is escalating, Vincent said. Fast. They've moved from surveillance to direct action. Next step is an attempt on my mother or Lauren, or both. Nicola's voice was pure ice. Get everyone to defensive positions. No one in or out without my personal approval. And get me a list of everyone who could have accessed Lauren's credentials. Already compiling it. Vincent left. I stood on shaking legs. I need to check on Alessandra. I'm coming with you. We moved through the house quickly. My mind raced through possibilities, protocols, what I'd touched, who'd had access to my workstation, my computer, We rounded the corner to Alessandra's wing. The door to her room stood open. It shouldn't be open. I always closed it to reduce noise, maintain temperature control. Nicola's hand went to the gun at his back. Stay behind me. She's my patient. And you're untrained in combat, so stay behind me. We entered together. The room was empty. Not empty like she'd gotten up. Impossible, given her condition. Empty like someone had taken her. The bed was unmade, IV pulled free. Oxygen cannula on the pillow. Window open, curtains moving in the breeze. On the bed, a single piece of paper. Nicola picked it up with hands that didn't shake, but I saw the muscle jump in his jaw. He showed me. She wants to see her garden one last time. Come alone to the south gate. You have 1 hour. Bring anyone and she gets scared. We know how fragile her heart is. Signed with a single letter, M. They took her. My voice cracked. They took her right out of how did they get past security, past all the cameras and guards and inside help. Nicola's voice was dead calm, terrifying calm. Someone on my staff, someone who knew routines, shift changes, blind spots. He pulled out his phone. Vincent, we have a breach. They took my mother. South Gate, 1 hour. I need... He stopped. Listened. His face went even harder. Understood. Do it. He hung up. What? I asked. Vincent found the inside man. One of the night guards. Been on my payroll for 3 years. They got to him last week. Offered him enough money to retire, plus protection from me. Nicola's smile was a blade. Vincent's handling it. Your mother is with someone who wants leverage, not a corpse. His eyes met mine. They need her alive to make this work. They need me emotional, compromised, making mistakes. So we don't give them that. What do you mean we? I mean you're coming with me. They said come alone. And I'm going too. He pulled a second gun from a drawer, checked it. But you're going to be my insurance. Because I know something they don't. What? He looked at me, really looked. That you're smart enough to spot medical sabotage, brave enough to stand up to me when I'm wrong, and competent enough to keep my mother alive under pressure. So here's what's going to happen. He laid it out in quick, precise detail. And by the time he finished, I understood exactly what kind of dangerous I'd gotten myself into. Not just dangerous for my safety, dangerous for my heart, because I was about to walk into a trap with a man I was falling for, to save a woman I loved, in a world I didn't understand. And somehow, impossibly, I was going to make sure we all walked out alive. The south gate was exactly where old money met old trees, a wrought iron barrier at the edge of the property, where the manicured lawn gave way to woods. I crouched in those woods, 20 yards from where Nicola would meet them. Small medical bag at my side, phone with open line to Vincent in my pocket, and a very clear set of instructions on what to do when the moment came. My heart hammered so hard I was sure they'd hear it. Through the trees, I watched Nicola approach the gate alone. Hands visible, no weapons showing. Every inch of him controlled, measured. A car pulled up outside the gate. Black sedan, tinted windows. 2 men got out. Muscle, big, armed, alert. And then a third man. Older, maybe 60, with silver hair and a face that looked like it had been carved from expensive marble. He moved like someone used to being obeyed, to being feared. Moretti, his voice carried. Punctual. I appreciate that. Where's my mother? Nicola's voice was blade sharp. Safe, for now, the man, M presumably, smiled. Comfortable. We've even got her oxygen and medications. Very thoughtful of you to keep such detailed medical records on the premises. Made it easy to ensure her comfort during transport. If you've hurt her, you'll what? M stepped closer to the gate. Kill me? We both know you've been trying to go legitimate. Clean up your family's operations. Play nice with the feds. Killing me would undo years of that careful work. And then who'd protect all those legitimate businesses you've been building? Tell me what you want. I want you to remember your place. M's smile was cold. I want you to remember that being the smart one, the strategic one, doesn't make you untouchable. I want you to remember that everyone you care about is a liability. Your mother, your pretty nurse, anyone who makes you soft. You made your point. Now return my mother. Oh, I will. M pulled out his phone. Showed Nicola something. Right after you sign these transfer agreements, 3 of your shipping routes, 2 of your legitimate front companies, and a very generous consulting fee for my organization. Think of it as rent for protection. Protection from what? From me. M's voice hardened. From the old guard who don't appreciate you trying to clean up the family business. From everyone who remembers what the Morettis used to be before you decided to play civilized. This was it. The moment we'd planned for. I pulled out my phone, texted Vincent. Now. And then I stepped out of the woods. She's not comfortable, I called out. Her oxygen saturation is dropping. You need to return her. Now. All 3 men spun toward me. Nicola's face flashed with fury for just a second before he controlled it. Lauren? I told you to stay. I'm her nurse, I cut him off, walking toward the gate. And unless you want her dying before you get whatever leverage you think you have, you need to let me stabilize her. M studied me. The nurse, the one with the unfortunate debt history. Had, I corrected. Past tense. Thanks to whoever paid it off this morning. Though I'm guessing that was you, trying to make me feel grateful or confused or whatever manipulation you had planned. I stopped at the gate, meeting his eyes. It didn't work. I know exactly who I'm working for, and why. Brave, M seemed almost impressed. Or stupid. I haven't decided which. Neither. I held up the medical bag. I'm practical. You want leverage over him, you need his mother alive. And she won't be for long without proper care. So either shoot me and lose your leverage, or let me do my job. The silence stretched. Then M smiled. Fine, come with us. You can tend to her in transit. Moretti signs the papers, you both get her back. Alive and well. No. Nicola's voice cracked like a whip. She stays here. You bring my mother to the gate. She stabilizes her here, then we talk terms. Not how this works. M's eyes stayed on me. She comes with us. You sign. Everyone wins. Except you're not stupid enough to let both of us go, I said quietly. You need insurance that he'll actually sign, so you keep one of us. The question is which one you think gives you better leverage. M's smile widened. Smart girl, smarter than I gave you credit for. She's not going anywhere, Nicola snarled. Actually, I said, pulling out my phone and showing M something I'd prepared. I am. Because I just sent Dr. Patel a very detailed report on Alessandra's current medication schedule, baseline vitals, and care protocols, along with timestamps and documentation proving I'm acting in her medical interest, not under duress. So if anything happens to me or to her, there's a paper trail that leads right back to you. And I'm guessing whatever play you're making, you don't want federal investigators looking into how a hospice patient disappeared from a secured estate. M's expression went cold. You're bluffing. I'm documenting. I met his eyes. That's what nurses do. We create records, protect patients, cover our asses. So here's my offer. You bring Alessandra to this gate right now. I stabilize her. Nicola and I both verify she's safe. Then we discuss terms. Or I send one more email that brings a lot of people with badges and questions to your doorstep. For 3 heartbeats, no one moved. Then M laughed. I like you. You've got spine. More than most men I deal with. He gestured to one of his men. Bring the old woman. Vincent's voice crackled in my ear through the hidden earpiece. Confirmation. FBI inbound. 4 minutes. Keep them talking. The trunk opened. They lifted Alessandra out in her wheelchair, pale, oxygen mask in place, but alive, aware. Her eyes found mine, scared but present. I'm here, I called to her. You're okay. Just breathe. They wheeled her to the gate. M kept himself between them and Nicola, using Alessandra as a human shield. Smart, cruel, effective. There, M said. She's alive. Now open the gate, let your nurse do her job, and we'll talk terms. Gate stays closed, Nicola said. Lauren works through the bars. My mother doesn't go any further into your territory, and you don't get any closer to mine. M considered, then nodded. Fine, you have 2 minutes. Then Moretti signs, or we leave with both of them. I moved to the gate, reached through the bars. Alessandra's hand found mine. Cara, she whispered, you shouldn't be here. Yes, I should. I checked her pulse through her wrist. Fast but steady, pupils reactive. Color not great, but not critical. You're doing okay, just stay calm. While I worked, I memorized everything. Faces, license plate, the way M stood, the way his guards held their weapons, every detail that might matter later. And I counted down. 3 minutes since Vincent's message. 2, 90 seconds. Time's up, M said. She's stable enough. Now, Moretti, sign. I need guarantees, Nicola said. Documentation that this ends here. That once I sign, my family's off limits. You're not in a position to negotiate. Sirens cut through the air. Distant but closing fast. M's face went hard. You called the cops. I called documentation, I said. Remember that paper trail I mentioned? Turns out when you report a hospice patient has been kidnapped, people respond, especially when that patient's son is already of serious interest to federal investigators looking into organized crime. You set me up. M's eyes went to Nicola. You brought her here to record. I brought her because she's the only one I trust with my mother's life, Nicola said quietly. Everything else was just her being exactly as smart as I knew she was. The guards moved toward Alessandra. Touch her and it's assault on a dying patient in the middle of an active federal kidnapping investigation, I said loudly, clearly for whatever devices Vincent had planted. Every second of this is being recorded. If she so much as bruises, you're not just dealing with him anymore. M's eyes narrowed. She's dying. What testimony? Dying people tell the truth, I said. Especially about their sons, about their lives, about who their family really dealt with, about... Enough. M stepped back. This isn't over. Yeah, Nicola said. It is. Because you just made a play on my dying mother in front of witnesses, recordings, and incoming federal agents. Whatever leverage you thought you had, you just burned it. Now give her back, or go to prison. Your choice. The sirens got louder. M looked at his men, at Alessandra, at the approaching lights. Then he shoved the wheelchair toward the gate. Take her. But this isn't done, Moretti. Not by a long shot. Yes, Nicola said coldly. It is. Because if you come near my family again, I won't call the feds. I'll handle it personally. And you know exactly what that means. The threat hung in the air like smoke. Then M and his men were gone, the car peeling out just as the first FBI vehicles arrived. Nicola unlocked the gate, and I pushed Alessandra through to safety. She was crying, silent tears running down her face. I'm sorry, she whispered. I'm so sorry. I was asleep and then... Shh, I held her hand. You're safe. It's over. You're safe. Is it over? She looked at her son. Nico? He crouched beside her wheelchair, taking her other hand. It's over. I promise. What did you do? Her eyes searched his face. What did you give them to get me back? Nothing. He smiled, and it was almost real. Lauren took care of it. She was... He looked at me. She was perfect. The next hours were chaos. FBI statements, medical evaluation, Vincent coordinating with law enforcement and estate security simultaneously. By the time we got Alessandra back in her room, properly settled and resting with Dr. Patel's supervision, The sun was setting again. Another day gone. Another piece of her limited time spent in crisis instead of peace. I stood on the terrace, watching the light fade, and felt the adrenaline finally crash. "You were reckless," Nicola's voice came from behind me. "Walking out of those woods, confronting them. You could have been killed." "I was strategic," I corrected, without turning. "I gave them a choice between violence that brought federal attention or cooperation that let them walk away. You gave them a target." He moved beside me. "You made yourself visible to people who now know exactly how to hurt me." "They already knew." I finally looked at him. "The second they took your mother, they knew. I just made sure they also knew it would cost them more than they could afford." "By making yourself part of the leverage." His jaw was tight. "By painting a target on your back right next to mine. I saved your mother," I shot back. "I kept her alive and got her back safely. That's my job. That's what you pay me for." "That's not—" He stopped, breathed. "You went beyond any reasonable definition of nursing care. You put yourself in danger. You—" "I made a choice," I interrupted. "A hard one, a scary one, but mine. Just like you keep telling your mother she has the right to make. I chose to help, to risk, to use what I knew to protect someone I stopped." "Someone you what?" His voice dropped. The question hung between us in the fading light. "Someone I care about," I said finally. "Both of them. Her because she's become more than a patient, and you because—" "Don't." He turned to face me fully. "Don't finish that sentence unless you mean it. Because once it's said, once it's real, there's no taking it back. No safe distance, no professional boundaries. Just what? Just this." He cupped my face in his hands. "Just me being selfish enough to want you despite knowing better. Just you being brave enough to stay despite everything that's happened. Just us pretending that any of this can work when everything I touch turns dangerous." My heart hammered against my ribs. "I'm not afraid of danger." "You should be." "Maybe." I leaned into his touch. "But I'm more afraid of walking away from something real just because it's complicated." "Lauren?" "Shut up," I whispered. "For once, just shut up and let me make a choice that's mine. Not about money, not about safety, not about what's smart or professional or reasonable. Just mine." I kissed him, or he kissed me. Later, I wouldn't be able to say who moved first. What I knew was this: his hands in my hair, my back against the terrace railing, the taste of desperation and relief and something deeper, something that felt like coming home to a place I'd never been. The kiss wasn't gentle, wasn't careful. It was heat and hunger and weeks of tension snapping like a wire pulled too tight. His mouth moved against mine like he was memorizing the shape of want, the flavor of risk. My hands fisted in his shirt, pulling him closer, needing. He pulled back just enough to breathe. "This is a terrible idea." "I know," I dragged him back. "Kiss me anyway." So he did. And for just a few stolen moments on a terrace while his mother slept safely inside and enemies circled in the dark, we let ourselves have something that was real and dangerous and ours. When we finally broke apart, both breathing hard, he rested his forehead against mine. "This doesn't solve anything," he said. "I know. It makes everything more complicated. I know. And I still can't promise you safe, or normal, or easy. I know." I met his eyes. "But you can promise me honest, and present, and real, so start with that." He studied my face for a long moment. Then, "I'm falling for you. Have been since you scolded me in my mother's hospital room, and it terrifies me because everyone I love ends up in danger." "I'm already in danger," I said quietly. "I was the second I took this job. The question isn't whether there's risk. It's whether what we could have is worth it." "Is it?" His voice was raw. "For you?" I thought about Alessandra's words, about choosing humanity over safety, about being seen instead of invisible. "Yes," I said. "It is." He kissed me again, softer this time, like a promise instead of a question. When he pulled back, his phone was buzzing. He checked it and his expression shifted. "Vincent, the FBI wants statements from both of us. Tonight." "Okay." I straightened my shirt. trying to look like I hadn't just been kissed senseless on a terrace. Let's give them. Lauren, he caught my hand. What you did today, the way you thought, the way you protected her, you're not just. He struggled for words. Thank you. You're welcome. I squeezed his fingers. Now let's go make sure M and whoever he works for never come near your family again. We walked back inside together, and somewhere between the terrace and the library where the FBI waited, I realized Alessandra had been right. I wasn't just falling, I'd already fallen. The only question now was whether we'd both survive the landing. Alessandra died on a Tuesday morning, 3 weeks after the night at the South Gate. She went peacefully, no crisis, no sudden emergency, just the slow, inevitable fade we'd all known was coming. I was with her. So was Nicola. She'd been drifting in and out for hours, but when she woke that last time, her eyes were clear. Kara, she whispered, her hand finding mine. You'll take care of him? I'll try, I said, throat tight. Don't try. Her grip strengthened slightly. Just stay. He needs someone who sees him, really sees him, not the power, not the danger, just him. I see him, I promised. She smiled, then turned her head to her son. Nico, my beautiful boy, you were always enough, just as you are. Remember that. Mama, his voice cracked. No crying yet. She managed a weak laugh. Wait until I'm gone, then you can fall apart. But right now, just hold my hand and tell me about the garden. So he did. He told her about the roses blooming, about the fountain he'd had repaired, about the morning light on the terrace and how the whole estate smelled like honeysuckle. And somewhere in the middle of his words, between one breath and the next, she slipped away. Just like that. Peaceful, dignified, home. The funeral was small, private, just family, the kind that mattered, not the kind that showed up for appearances. I stayed in the background, professional distance reinstated like armor. I'd done my job, kept her comfortable, given her the death she wanted. Now it was time to leave. I'd started packing that morning before the service. My contract was fulfilled. The house was no longer mine to haunt. But when I came back to my room after the burial, Nicola was there, standing by the window, still in his black suit, looking older than he had 3 weeks ago. You're leaving, he said. Not a question. Yes, I set my bag down. The contract ended when she passed. I should have been gone already, but I needed to see her buried properly. You don't have to go. Yes, I do. I kept my voice steady. This was always temporary. We both knew that. Did we? He turned to face me. Because somewhere between my mother's room and that terrace, I stopped thinking of this as temporary. I started thinking. He stopped. I started hoping. My chest tightened. Nicola, I have a proposition. He pulled an envelope from his jacket. Not a contract, not an order, just an offer. Hear me out before you say no. I waited. My mother spent her last years working with a small palliative care foundation, underfunded, overworked, serving people who couldn't afford private hospice care like she had. He set the envelope on the desk. I want to expand it, properly fund it, build something that gives other families what you gave us: dignity, compassion, real care. That's good, I said carefully. That's a beautiful way to honor her. I want you to run it. His eyes held mine. I want you to build it. Hire staff. Set protocols. Make it everything you know it should be. No interference from me. No strings. Just your expertise and my resources creating something that matters. The offer hit me like a physical thing. Why? Because you're brilliant at what you do. Because you care in a way that can't be taught. Because he moved closer. Because I don't want you walking out of my life now that there's no professional obligation keeping you here. I want you to stay. Not as my mother's nurse. Not as someone I'm protecting. But as, for a heartbeat. Sophia's voice whispered about incentives and liabilities. About women who stayed for money instead of love. I shut her out. This wasn't about debt anymore. This was about choice. As what? My voice came out smaller than I intended. As my partner, he said it simply, clearly. In building something good. In. He took a breath. In whatever this is between us, if you want it, if you're willing to risk it. Risk what? I asked. Your world? Your enemies? Your... Risk believing that we could be more than the sum of our damage, he said quietly. Risk staying in a life that will never be completely safe or normal. Risk loving someone who comes with a past and a present that includes danger. His hand lifted, hesitant, then cupped my cheek. Risk loving me, even though I'm probably the worst choice you could make. Tears burned my eyes. You're not the worst choice, aren't I? His thumb brushed my cheekbone. I'm in a business that makes enemies. I have blood on my hands from before I tried to change. I'll always be looking over my shoulder, always calculating threats. That's not the life you signed up for. No, I agreed. But it's the life I choose, now. With full knowledge of what it costs, I covered his hand with mine. Your mother asked me something before she died. She asked if I'd take care of you, and I said I'd try. You don't have to. Let me finish. I stepped closer. I said I'd try, but the truth is, I don't want to try. I don't want to take care of you like you're some project or obligation. I want to build something with you. The foundation, yes. But also this. Us. Whatever messy, complicated, dangerous thing we're becoming. His forehead dropped to mine. You're sure? No, I admitted. I'm terrified. I'm walking into a life I don't fully understand with a man who still has secrets. But I'm sure about this. I don't want to walk away wondering what we could have been. I'd rather risk the fall than spend the rest of my life playing it safe. He kissed me then. Soft. Reverent. Like I was something precious he didn't quite believe he got to keep. When we pulled apart, he handed me the envelope. Read it. Think about it. The offer stands whether you stay with me or not. I mean that. The foundation is yours either way. I opened it. Legal documents. Funding structures. My name listed as executive director. Salary that made my hospice wages look like pocket change. And at the bottom, a handwritten note in Alessandra's shaky script, dated 2 weeks before she died. Kara, by the time you read this, I'll be gone. And if my son hasn't already told you he loves you, he's even more stubborn than I thought. Build something beautiful. With the foundation. With him. With the life you choose. You deserve to be seen. To be valued. To be loved without conditions. Don't settle for less. The tears came then. Hot and fast and impossible to stop. Nicola's arms came around me, holding me while I cried for the woman we'd lost, for the life I was choosing, for the terrifying hope of believing something good could grow in dangerous soil. She knew, I whispered against his chest. She knew before we did. She always knew. His voice was rough with his own grief. She told me weeks ago that I was falling for you. I denied it, said it was just respect for your competence. She laughed at me. What did she say? She said, Nico, you've spent 10 years confusing loneliness with safety. Don't make that mistake with her. Don't wait until I'm gone to realize she's the best decision you'll ever make. He pulled back just enough to look at me. She was right. She usually was. I touched his face. This dangerous, complicated, wounded man who'd somehow become mine. I have conditions. Name them. I'm not going to lie for you. I'm not going to cover for anything illegal. I'm not going to pretend the foundation is legitimate if you're using it to launder money or... I know. The agents I met with after the kidnapping made that very clear too. It's clean, he continued. Completely. Audited. Legal. I meant what I said. No strings. No interference. It's yours to build right. Okay, I took a breath. Second condition, you don't make decisions about my safety without consulting me. No more surprise security details or... That one I can't promise, he said honestly. I can promise to tell you what I'm doing and why. To listen when you argue. But I can't promise I won't protect you when I think you're in danger. Then we're going to fight about it sometimes. Probably. A ghost of a smile touched his mouth. I'm okay with that. Are you? Yes. I stepped back, needing space to think. Last condition. You let me see the real you. Not the boss. Not the strategy. Not the armor. You let me in. All the way in. Even the parts you think I'll run from. His expression went carefully neutral. There are things in my past. I know, I met his eyes. And I'm still here. I'm still choosing this, so let me choose all of it. The good and the bad and the complicated. For a long moment, he just looked at me. Then, okay, okay, okay. He crossed to me, took my hands. I'll try. I'll fail sometimes. I'll want to hide the ugly parts, but I'll try to let you see. If you promise to tell me when I'm closing off, when I'm reverting to who I used to be. I promise. I squeezed his fingers. So, partners? Partners, he agreed. In the foundation, in this house, he paused. In loving each other. Even when it's hard. Even when it's scary. Even when my world tries to make you regret it. I won't regret it, I said. I already know that. How? Because I've spent 7 years being invisible. Being the nurse no one sees. The daughter drowning in debt no one helps. The woman surviving instead of living. I moved into his space, his arms coming around me naturally. And then your mother saw me, really saw me. And she made you see me too. Made me see myself. I'm not walking away from that. From being seen. From being chosen. From choosing something real instead of something safe. He kissed my forehead, my temple, the corner of my mouth. Ti porto a casa, he murmured against my lips. I bring you home. I'm already home, I whispered back, and kissed him like I meant it. 6 months later, the Alessandra Moretti Palliative Care Foundation opened its doors in a renovated brownstone in Brooklyn. We served 20 patients in our first month, 40 by the third. By 6 months, we had a waiting list and plans to expand. I hired nurses who understood that dying people deserved dignity. Social workers who fought for families drowning in medical debt. Grief counselors who held space for the impossible. And every day, I came home to the estate that no longer felt like enemy territory. To a man who'd learned to tell me when he was scared instead of just building bigger walls. To a life that was complicated and sometimes dangerous and never, ever boring. We fought sometimes. About security, about his business, about the line between protection and control. But we also laughed, built something meaningful together, learned to trust that love didn't have to be easy to be real. On the anniversary of Alessandra's death, Nicola and I stood in her garden at sunset. He'd planted new roses, white ones, her favorite. She'd be proud of you, I said, leaning into his side. Of what you built. Who you're becoming. She'd be proud of you too. His arm came around my waist. You're changing lives, one family at a time. We're changing lives, I corrected. This doesn't work without your support. Our support, he said. We're partners, remember? I smiled. I remember. He turned me to face him, and the look in his eyes made my breath catch. Marry me. My heart stopped. What? Marry me. He said it simply. Certainly. Not because it's safe or smart or expected, but because I want to choose you every day for the rest of my life. Because you see me and stay anyway. Because his hand cupped my face. Because I love you, and I want the world to know it. Tears blurred my vision. That's a terrible business strategy. Good thing this isn't business, he smiled. This is just me asking the bravest woman I know if she'll risk forever with a man who's still learning how to be worthy of her. You're already worthy, I said. You were always worthy. You just had to believe it. Is that a yes? I kissed him. Hard and sure and full of promise. Yes, it's a yes. He pulled me closer, his face buried in my hair, and I felt him shake with something that might have been laughter or tears or relief. Your mother knew, I whispered. Before either of us did. She knew we'd end up here. She always did. His arms tightened. She told me once that the right person would see past the danger to the man underneath. That I'd know her because she'd choose me despite every rational reason not to. She was right. She usually was. He pulled back, eyes searching mine. I can't promise you safe, or easy, or normal. I know. I smiled through my tears. But you can promise me real, and seen, and loved. So start with that. I love you, he said. Every complicated, brave, stubborn part of you. I love you. I love you too, I whispered. Every dangerous, wounded, impossible part of you. And there, in Alessandra's garden, surrounded by white roses and the ghost of a woman who'd seen us both so clearly, we chose each other, again, and again, and again. Not because it was safe, but because it was real.